Somehow Lord Zoo found his way to where I am, and he's trying to fool me again. I can't tell if he's stronger now, but it's serious. Welcome back, my friends. Diana just found out that Lord Zoo is in her world, and that's not good. Let's find out what she's going to do about it, shall we? Zane drove the rest of the way home, telling me where we can hide the bone. I told him that I promised Wilson Prudence that I would go back to see them on Monday, and he insisted that he go with me. As soon as we got home, Mom pounced. "Are you okay? You look pale." I rolled my eyes. "Mom, we're black. We don't do pale." "We do pale, we just lose our natural glow," she replied, eyeing me critically. "Whatever, I'm fine and I'm going up to bed," I told her. I could hear her talking with Zane about the party. I hoped he would keep quiet about Wilson Prudence being counterfeits. I was sitting on my bed when Zane came in. He didn't even knock. "Okay, let's see it," he asked, holding his hand out. "Don't you knock. I could have been naked in here," I scolded him, but reached over to grab a small rectangular box I used to keep an old bracelet in off the nightstand. I opened it to show him. Every day it gets older looking. Now it was a grayish and moldy mess. "Ooh, gross!" exclaimed Zane, pulling his hand back. That's what the actual Wilson Prudence would look like if they had really crossed over from the shadow world. "And you think this bone is the key to whatever this Zoo character needs for his nefarious plans?" Zane asked. "Who says nefarious these days?" "I know words. Besides, it fits, doesn't it?" "Yeah, well, I don't know if he needs it or not. However, I'm betting he knows something went wrong. He needs me to try to recreate the transfer. He has the frog, but I bet he thinks that for him to succeed, that he needs me. After all, when I arrived to the shadow world, I came with the frog. The only thing I know for sure is that he didn't know I was holding the bone when we crossed over. The real Wilson Prudence would have asked about the bone. So what you're saying is that he just wants to experiment with you?" I nodded. "Yeah, pretty much." "Geez, this is so serious. It can't hurt to hide the bone. But I think you should talk with Dad about this." "No, Mom and Dad are already walking on eggshells around me. How fast do you think I'd end up in therapy if I say this stuff to them?" "But it's the truth, though. Some secrets are better left as secrets. I took a risk in telling you about it, and the only reason you believed me was because they approached you for the party. That son of theirs is probably one of the wizards, too. Dang, when you get in trouble, you don't hold back. I can't let you handle this alone. You don't want Mom and Dad to know about this? Then we do this together." He reached over to bump fists with me. I smiled up at him. After he left, I put the box away and went downstairs for a snack. I was just rinsing a cup in the kitchen sink when Zane came into the kitchen. "Are you sure you don't want Dad to help with this?" "Zane, Dad doesn't do well with fantasy. You remember the arguments we'd have after watching a movie? He'd try to poke holes in the whole thing." "That's right, but maybe that's what we need. He could probably see what we can't," reasoned Zane. "You think?" I asked, cocking my head to the side. "Yeah, I do. Look, I know you think you and I can handle this, but we need a disciplined mind. That's Dad." "Okay, but if he doesn't believe us, we pretend that we were pulling his leg. Otherwise, we're both grounded. This is your busy season. You can't be grounded." Zane walked over to me and we shook on it. Dad chose that moment to enter the kitchen. He stopped short when he saw us. "What are you two up to?" he asked us. Zane nodded at me and I nodded back. "Dad, we need your help." "I need your help." He immediately went into cop mode. "What's happened?" "Nothing yet, I hope," I answered. Dad took his seat at the table. "Tell me," he insisted. "Dad, you have to keep an open mind." "When she told me, I didn't believe her until I saw and heard for myself," said Zane. Dad held up his hand. He did that when he wanted the conversation to get to the point. "It's about my coma. I told Zane all about what I experienced while under. His gig tonight was with some people I was with in the coma." "That's not possible," Dad said matter-of-factly. "Dad, she's telling the truth. Before we even went to the house, she told me about the people who kept her safe. They were the same people who hired me for the party. When we got there, they all knew each other. And they told us how they came to be here," Zane said. "What are you talking about? Your sister was in a coma. Your mother and I were there with her, and she was never moved and no one else came to see her. We wouldn't allow it." "Daddy," I began. I told him the whole story, up to going to the Salem's house for the party and what transpired there. When I finished, I ran upstairs to my bedroom to get the bone. It looked worse now. When I came awake, my parents were puzzled that I had it, and even more so when I wouldn't relinquish it. "You're not pulling my leg, are you?" asked Dad. "No, Dad, I swear it," I answered. He looked at the bone and then reached out to touch it. I stopped him. "Don't! I think if you touch it, it might change somehow," I warned. Dad pulled his hand away abruptly. "The only reason I believe you is because when you were brought to the hospital, you didn't have that in your hand. It only appeared when you woke up. What do you want me to do?" "I'm not sure. I mean, Lord Zoo and his wizards obviously have an agenda. I just don't know what it is yet. I told him that I would come back on Monday to help them plan. I'm not comfortable with you going over there. If what you say is true, he needs you to achieve whatever it is he's trying to do." "I know, but what other alternative do I have? I can't stop him if I don't know what he's trying to do. He's really bad news, Dad." "Okay, I think our best course of action is to get intel on what his plans are. That means you go see them, but it's dangerous. I'm not comfortable with it, but you're right. We need to know what he's planning. You said something about glamour. That means he can appear to be anybody. We need to come up with something they couldn't possibly know to make sure we are who we say we are." "Wow, Dad, you're good at this. How about we use a password to identify each other?" "It has to be something we all know about and easy to remember," Zane added. "I know," Dad exclaimed. "Do you remember when Diana was little?" he asked with a grin. "Tell me a story. I used to ask for one all the time. You guys used to call me Story. Is Story going to be our password?" I asked. "No, the whole phrase is, even if we say it in front of your mother, she'll laugh because she'll remember what it is. Your friends won't and will probably look at you weird and try to tell you a story. That's how we'll trip them up," Dad explained. "Wow, Dad, you're really getting into this, aren't you?" I asked him. He shook his head. "I take your safety seriously. After that hospital stay, I promised myself that I wouldn't let anything happen to you." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Okay then, tell me a story as our password. We ask each other for it if either one of us asks about the bone or tries to get me to go anywhere out of the ordinary. Now I want you both to be careful. Stay in touch with each other and don't do anything that is remotely dangerous. Call me and I'll come, and when I do, ask me for the password and I'll do the same with you," Dad said. We bumped fists and I went to bed, leaving Zane and Dad in the kitchen. I had a headache and needed to think about what I was going to do next. Zane took the bone to go hide it. The following morning was just like any Monday morning in our house, only I felt that something was going to happen. I watched my family carefully. Mom was the first to awaken as usual. She hurried to have breakfast on the table before anyone came down. Dad sat at the table with the paper, eating absent-mindedly. Zane had his headphones on and ignored everyone. Mom ate, and she didn't even look up at me when I sat beside her. "What's everyone doing today?" asked Dad. "I thought you might have time to tell me a story," I asked him. "Diana, I think you are too old for that," he replied with a no-nonsense tone. I looked to Zane. "What about you? Will you tell me a story?" "Grow up, squirt." I looked at my mother. "Mom, will you tell me a story?" "I'm sure you can tell yourself a story, honey. You have tons of books in your room." "Okay, I will." I got up from the table trying not to cry. I schooled myself not to run, and once I got up to my room, I quickly located the box containing the bone and found it empty. Oh, right, Zane hid it, I hoped. I slid to the floor with my back against the door. How did this happen? Did Lord Zoo grab my family in the middle of the night? What was I going to do now? Before I knew it, tears were streaming down my face. I cried out of frustration. My family was safe somewhere and would be released once they had me. I was sure of it. This was the 21st century. There were too many ways the authorities could trace their whereabouts. Once I got that fixed in my head, I stood up ready to outsmart Lord Zoo again. I grabbed my phone, and that's when I noticed the message. It was from Zane. He told me where he hid the bone. That was brilliant. Now I truly had confidence to teach Lord Zoo a lesson he will never forget. I deleted the message and stood up. After washing my face, I went back downstairs. They were still at the table talking quietly. They stopped as soon as they heard me approaching, but I'd already spied them with their heads together. "Bye, see you guys later," I said brightly. "Hold it right there, young lady. Where are you off to?" My fake dad asked me. "To meet with my friends, duh." And which friends are those? He asked. Ty, Jane, and Diesel, I answered offhandedly. Okay, be home before dinner, fake mom insisted. No problem, parental units, I answered. I saluted them and left the house confident that while I was gone, they were going to search the house. They didn't bat an eyelash when I told them who I was going to be with. I don't know a Ty, Jane, and definitely no Diesel. It was worth a try, but I wasn't surprised. I walked around the block and waited a few minutes to see if any of them were following me. None did, probably too busy searching the house. I reached into my shirt and pulled out the empty box. I didn't want to leave it just in case they found it. They might use some kind of magic to trace it. If Zane was able to get the bone out of my room and didn't wake me, tells me that he wasn't caught, or if he was, it would have been right after he came back. His car was in the drive, so it must have been right after he returned. So since I know the bone isn't lost, I need to come up with a plan to derail Lord Zoo's nefarious plans. Nefarious, I snickered to myself. What, I'm still a kid, you know. I made sure that I stayed out long enough for them to assume that I was out being a typical teenager. The house was clean, but I could tell that they'd been through it with a fine-tooth comb. They'd been in my room too. I'd rearranged things in my room for that very purpose. I marked certain items and placed them around the room even though they were identical. So because they were the same, they never bothered to look if they were marked. They replaced them where they'd seen them before, but it was wrong. I know, confusing, right? But it served its purpose. I now know that they'd been in my room. Time to put my plan into motion. Well, part of it anyway. I went downstairs and they were still there. All of them. So I decided to play with them for a bit. Hey, Dad, the jig is up. You too, Mom. Zane told you I was acting weird at his party, didn't he? That's why you're home today, watching me to see if I'll lose my cool again? Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but I'm fine, really. It took them a while to even understand my language, and I held it together. No one says jig anymore, but had they been my real parents, they would have understood and looked at me funny. Really, someone should be proud of me. Fake Dad was the first to recover. He must be Lord Zoo. Zane did mention that you were acting a little strange. He had to cut his gig short and come home. Are you feeling all right? Yes, I'm fine. It's just that the couple who booked Zane were the same people who took care of me when I was in the coma. Seeing them again threw me and I needed to get away to think. How is that possible? Asked Fake Dad. I don't know. Wilson Prudence helped me while in the coma. The shadow world was scary and they protected me. I don't know if protected you is the right word. They kept you in the shadow world for their own purposes. You could have been out of the coma a lot sooner if they hadn't hidden you, he continued. Either way, they kept me safe, and I wasn't alone. Honey, we talked about this. Diana is going to feel indebted toward those people. What's important is that she's home and she's safe, Fake Mom chimed in. What's for dinner? I asked out of the blue. I thought we'd order in. What do you fancy? Asked Fake Mom. Pizza would be great. Order Hawaiian for me. I got up to go to my room. I couldn't stand it a minute more with them. I'll have the same, Zane announced. Hey sis, wait up. He got up to follow me upstairs. In my room, I turned to face him. He looked like my brother, but I knew he wasn't. What do you want, Zane? I asked. Tell me a story, he said. What? Tell me a story, he repeated. Is it really you? Yes, you won't believe what I've been through. I took the bone to hide it, and when I came back, there was this strange guy in front of our house. I watched him and a few others bring out our parents and into a car. I know they were waiting for me, so I waited until it was just the one guy left. The others drove away with our parents. Look, when this is over, I swear I'll tell you everything, but I had a syringe in my glove compartment. I slid it in my sleeve and got out of the car. The guy waiting for me had this weird look in his eyes and he was chanting. I started to feel woozy, but then I remembered the syringe. It was like moving in water, but I did it. I plunged the whole thing in his neck, and when he fell, I stopped feeling weird. When I looked down, he looked just like me. Where is he now? I asked, still not convinced that he was my brother. I put him in the basement. Show me, I insisted. He turned and walked ahead of me. I followed him to the basement. Since he was supposed to be one of them, the others paid us no mind. When we got downstairs, Zane opened the door to the storage cabinet, and just like he said, the wizard was stuffed inside, and he had returned to his real self. Jesus, Zane, what did you give him? You don't want to know. So they should be high and not out? No, the dose I gave him was supposed to be split 5 ways. He's going to be out for a long time. I think we need to move him somewhere else and keep him drugged. Oh, and once this is over, you're going to tell me what you're into, I told him. Fine. Right now, we got to get this guy out of here. Let's get back. Follow my lead. We returned to the living room where our fake parents were sitting. Hey, Dad, when's the pizza getting here? I'm starved, Zane said. Did you tell them delivery or pick up? I asked. Fake mother looked at me with a confused expression. I don't remember. I pretended that it was an inconvenience and picked up the phone. The menu was on the counter in the kitchen, and I tracked down our order. Hey guys, you still want Hawaiian and pepperoni, right? Dad grunted and Mom nodded. I caught Zane's eye and nodded. Mom, you told them pick up again. Zane and I will go get it. Can we have soda too? Yes, and hurry back, Dad said. Zane and I rushed back to the basement, and he and I got the drugged-up wizard into the back seat, through the connecting door, and we drove off. On the drive back, we thought of a plan to get our parents back in zoo. Dinner that evening was a bit strained, but we got through it. Zane went back to acting disinterested while I went up to my room. I packed my backpack with the supplies Zane and I picked up and waited. When Zane knocked on the door, I perked up. He wasn't alone, however. Fake Dad was with him. Look, Squirt, Dad says it's better if he held onto the bone. He wants us to go get it and bring it back here. How do you know the bone isn't in the house? I countered. I know I raised a smart girl. I know you hid the bone elsewhere. If this zoo character shows up, I'd rather he deal with me. Go with your brother to get it. All the while I watched Zane. He winked at me at the last moment, and I relaxed. Okay, Dad, I think you're right. After all, you're a cop. If anybody should know what to do, it's you, I told fake Dad. He stepped aside and we left the house again. How come they aren't out? I asked him. We spiked their soda with enough drugs to kill an elephant, but they were both up. Don't worry, it'll kick in soon. We didn't go get the bone. Instead, we went to the Salem's house. When a wizard opened the door and spied Zane, he smiled and let him in. I went around back, and I didn't know if the back door was open or not, but I got lucky. I had a little trouble with the boy. He fought me, but I quickly overpowered him. His body is hidden in the basement. Has Lord Zoo made any progress with the girl? She's very scared of the shadow world. She doesn't want to go back there. It's a good thing she doesn't know that it's gone. We can still use it to get what we want from her. Only she can tell us what happened to the frog. That Wills boy switched a leg for a chicken leg. Once we get that missing piece, Lord Zoo won't have any opposition. The world is ours. Zane looked around and asked where the parents were being kept. Lord Zoo wants to make sure they were still under the spell. The wizard led the way to the basement. In a cell much like the one Wills and Prudence were held in, were our parents. They didn't appear to be in any distress, except they were frozen. I must get back. The girl is getting suspicious. Then you must go. Tell Lord Zoo that everything is fine here. Zane held out his hand to clap the man on the shoulder. He pressed the plunger quickly before the man understood what was happening to him. He fell to the floor mid-chant. Zane and I acted quickly. We found the key to the cell and gently brought our parents out and into the car. We put the wizards in the cell and split up to enact the rest of our plan. I searched the whole house. There's no one else here. I remember that there were only 5 of them. We've got to hurry, Zane urged me. We drove home and Zane entered first. The fake parents were sitting slumped over each other on the couch. Again, we carried their bodies to the car and drove back to Valley Stream. It's a good thing that the garage was connected to the house, otherwise I'm sure some nosy neighbor would have called the police by now. We put them all in the cell. The only thing missing is the bone. I burned it in the sink. There was a hidden room in the basement, and that's where we found the machine. I took a hammer to it and pummeled it good. The next morning, Mom was her bossy self waking us up. When I came down for breakfast, Dad was in his usual spot reading the paper, and Zane was well. Zane. The TV was on and we caught the breaking news. A fire broke out in a quiet Valley Stream community. Turns out the house burned to the ground. It had been empty for a long time. Firefighters were shocked to find 6 bodies burned beyond recognition in a cage. Zane and I looked at each other and nodded. After Mom left, we were surprised to find Dad still at the table. Aren't you going to be late, Dad? Asked Zane. I have a few minutes. I had this strange dream, and I was wondering if you two could shed some light on it. I can't wrap my head around my children drugging people and then setting a house on fire. Dad, what are you talking about? I asked in a trembling voice. Look, although I couldn't move, I saw and heard everything. Those men were evil incarnate. I just want to make sure that nothing comes back to you two. Am I making myself clear? What's the password? Well, that's it. The end. Did you enjoy the story? Tell me in the comments, and please like, share, and subscribe.